Stephan Ouaknine, Chairman and CEO of Inerjys.
I think without technology, without innovation, we're not going to get anywhere. The problem is innovation costs a lot of money, and money tends to be very conservative. So when you talk about the private sector, you have to talk about corporations and banks not wanting to take the risks on large-scale projects that encompass some form of technology risk. So they want to see clean energy installations that have been in operation for 10 years, which in my world equals legacy technology, which is quite outdated and quite expensive. So there are projects that are being built today with government subsidies. We know the economic climate that we're in right now, and we pretty much know that government subsidies are going to go away. So I come back to innovation. And that's why I think in this market we need disruptors. Inerjys is a $1 billion fund investing in projects and in technologies in a disruptive way. We have a different risk profile than most.
Just explain that disruptor.
Well, it's important to be disruptive. I come from telecom sector. It was inconceivable 20 years ago to many people around the world that they would stroll down the main street of their city and have 39 options within the telecom sphere. There was a government monopoly that was selling you your telecommunications services, and anyone else pushing something new, something based on internet technology, for example, was accused of being crazy, dangerous. The internet connections would drop all the time, so who would want to trust their telephony to this? But dial the clock forward a few years, and all of a sudden, there are many options. The market opens up. This was done with a very strong partnership between the private and the public sector. Governments allowed it to happen. Private sector jumped in. And innovation dollars flowed in. Technologies got better. Companies like Nortel died while companies like Cisco thrived. What does that teach you? To me, energy is the same. Today, it's inconceivable to many that somebody other than your traditional incumbent electricity company would sell you your electricity. I'm saying that 5-10 years down the road, it's going to resemble a lot like telecom. And one of the things we're trying to do at Inerjys is to build the Vodafone of renewable energy. So Inerjys as a branded clean tech or clean energy utility company that can operate in 200 countries, not in one country or one province. And the way to get there is innovation.
What kind of innovation would accelerate access to energy for all in 2012? We're coming up to Rio Plus 20. That's what the UN wants to focus on, green growth and access to energy. What's the one thing that you think would...
Well, there's no one thing. I mean, there are so many interesting technologies. It's an attitude, though.
Okay.
Look, let's get real, okay? Access to clean energy, to all is a wonderfully large thing to say, but let's get real. We have today renewable energy, truly clean energy represents 3% of the global energy market. 3% for all of the hype and the wonderful advertisements at airports of nice wind turbines, many from Siemens. But in reality, it's true what you say. It's a very small part, and coal is a large part, and other fossil fuels are a large part. Now, I'm Canadian, so I like hockey sticks, okay? I like things to go really, really fast, and you said the word accelerate. Things accelerate when they make business sense. So no matter how many dialogues between governments who have, unfortunately, often a short-term view because they need to get reelected. Governments need to get reelected. That's one thing that governments look at. But no matter how many fruitful conversations that we have with government, and we're having many in many countries, especially in emerging markets, I have to say the doors are swinging wide open. Governments are writing, here in Africa, clean energy bills. Ghana wrote a very interesting bill into law in this way, and are allowing companies to set up as alternative utilities. But innovation is, at the end of the day, the key, because the current rate of growth of clean energy, just to put it out there, to get to critical mass of about 85% from 3, it would take 100 years. We don't have 100 years. We have a polar ice cap that's melting. And are we waiting for coastal cities to be flooded before realizing we need to act fast?
But isn't solar energy becoming much cheaper? LEDs?
It is to an extent, but the Chinese are controlling the market in many ways on solar PVs because of their control over rare earth materials, rare earth minerals. So you have to look at companies like one we're looking at that are inventing their own polymers that have circuitry built in order to not be reliant on these types of rare earth materials where China can control the price. There are so many areas, but look, at the end of the day, you've got the innovation side of things, and then you've got the distribution side of that clean electricity to the people, okay, to the masses. The way it works is that innovation dollars flow in from investors, usually venture capitalists. But venture capitalists are performing very poorly, so they're retreating from capital-intensive things like utilities-grade clean tech in favor of things like better LED light bulbs, because it's a safer investment. So if the innovation's not coming from those investors, and we're only going to wait for large corporates to deliver it, then with all the best intentions in large corporations, they don't tend to deliver the fast, quick innovation or disruptive technologies any more than Microsoft could have created Facebook. Microsoft is good at paying $8.4 billion for Skype, but they're not good at inventing something to beat the iPod. Now on the distribution side, okay? If you're a project, what we have today are project developers who try to get a PPA, a power purchase agreement, from a government monopoly who determines the price here, and they look at you and say, what are you gonna do? I'm the only game in town. So they're getting this much for their clean electricity, and they have to go buy the equipment from vendors who put the price here. And there's few vendors, so they say, what are you gonna do? I'm the only game in town. So they go for government subsidies to try to make it make sense, and they make teeny tiny margins. That's why it's going to take 100 years. So how do we get to the hockey stick? Again, having a risk profile, we have to reevaluate the way we think about technology risk, and we need to bring different type of thinkers. And I don't want to get into the laundry list of technologies we're looking at in, in storage technology, in wind and solar. There are so many compelling things. But to put it in a succinct way, the last thing I'll say to you, Steve Jobs put it perfectly. He said, here's to the crazy ones. Because he said, a wonderful commercial, it's the ones who think that they can change the world that do. If you're crazy enough to think you can change the world, then you do. Yeah. So